listening to the Friday Five here on the Agent Survival Guide podcast. This is our list of 5 things that happened this week that you should know about. I'm your host, Sarah Ruppel, and today is Friday, November 1st. It is officially the first day of open enrollment. So for those of you who are selling ACA plans, we are wishing you a successful season. And please reach out to your reps here at Ritter as you need us with enrollment and application questions. That is what we are here for. Open enrollment is also where we happen to begin our list this week. In their October 18th CMS Roundup, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services announced a change to enrollment applications submitted to the marketplace through either a classic direct enrollment or an enhanced direct enrollment platform, DE and EDE, respectively. Verifiable Social Security numbers for all applicants other than newborns must now be submitted at the time of application. Previously, this information was able to be submitted after the fact, but that is no longer the case. The move is meant to not only streamline the application process, it's another move by CMS to cut down on unauthorized plan switching. If you're trying to enroll a client without a Social Security number, the system to process those applications will not be updated until late December. Until then, CMS advises those clients to apply directly at healthcare.gov by calling the Marketplace call center or by using a DE or EDE platform with a consumer portal. We'll be linking to the official release from CMS as well as our blog write-up on that announcement in the episode notes. Number 4. Another piece of news that I wanted to make sure we talked about here, because it is a situation that you might find yourself needing to deal with if you sell Medicare in Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, or Nebraska. In July of 2024, a company called Wisconsin Physicians Service Insurance Corporation notified the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services that Medicare beneficiary data may have been compromised during the MOVEit vulnerability attack between May 27th and May 30th, 2023. This was a 0-day vulnerability that by the time a patch was created and issued, included 122 organizations and compromised the data of about 15 million people. And in case you haven't heard of that term before, 0-day vulnerability refers to an issue or vulnerability to either software or hardware that is unknown to the developing company, so there's no immediate fix for the situation. And as we just mentioned, MOVEit created a patch for the vulnerability 4 days after it was discovered. CMS has reported on Medicare beneficiaries impacted by the same breach, first in late July of 2023, then in mid-November 2023, and the latest press release came out on September 6th, 2024. Wisconsin Physicians Service, or WPS for short, originally completed an investigation into the incident and did not find evidence of a data breach. However, in May of 2024, after new information came to light, they reviewed their files and found that prior to the patch being released, quote, an unauthorized third party copied files from WPS's MOVEit file transfer system, end quote. Upon review, CMS and WPS identified almost 1 million beneficiaries whose personal identifying information and protected health information was breached. According to the press release, the following information was potentially breached for those 1 million beneficiaries: name, social security number, individual taxpayer identification number, date of birth, mailing address, gender, hospital account number, dates of service, Medicare beneficiary identifier, and health insurance claim numbers. Letters were sent out to beneficiaries with details about the breach, the information that was potentially leaked, and the action they can take as a result. All beneficiaries affected will be eligible to enroll in 12 months of complimentary credit monitoring from Experian. The letter outlines how all citizens can get an annual free credit report from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion every 12 months. CMS recommends affected beneficiaries order the reports and go over them for suspicious activity. For now, beneficiaries should continue using their existing Medicare card. CMS will be reaching out beyond this initial informational letter with new Medicare beneficiary identifiers and cards for those they identify as at risk. For some carriers, CMS plans to provide the updated MBIs of their current members, so those beneficiaries won't necessarily need to inform their carrier. Aetna is one carrier that we've confirmed will be getting a list of updated MBIs. That being said, I would still caution agents that for those clients who have been affected, double check that everyone who needs to have the new MBI does in fact have that information. Now, depending on how often your clients are reading their mail these days, which more of us will probably start after next Tuesday, they might not have even seen the letter from CMS. Hopefully, they don't miss the letter with their new MBI and Medicare card, because if they don't respond to that letter in a timely fashion, and they're planning on changing an enrollment, that enrollment might not go through. So it's important to talk with your clients about what's going on. If you're getting calls from a client saying that certain health services weren't covered, or perhaps an application for insurance was recently denied, those are red flags that they might have been affected by the breach, especially if they live in Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, or Nebraska. We will be linking to the CMS release on that news, as well as a couple other articles on that story in the episode notes for you to learn more. Number 3, we've been covering President Biden's attempts at canceling student loan debt here on the podcast since the announcement of his first attempt and its subsequent demise in June 2023. His second attempt, the Saving on a Valuable Education Plan, or SAVE plan, was challenged in the courts, getting the go-ahead from a judge in Georgia earlier this month. And then one day later, a judge in Missouri blocked the SAVE plan from coming to fruition. On Friday last week, President Biden announced a new form of federal student loan forgiveness, one that would provide relief to borrowers experiencing financial hardship. According to the Department of Education release, 8 million borrowers could have potentially their entire amount of federal student loan debt waived, should they qualify. Financial hardships named outright included, quote, unexpected medical bills, high childcare costs, significant expenses related to caring for loved ones with chronic illnesses, or devastating economic circumstances from the impacts of a natural disaster, end quote. The idea behind this third attempt is that while there are short-term solutions in place, this serves as more of a long-term solution. The proposal has yet to be published in the Federal Register, but when it is, the public can submit comments for a period of 30 days. Regulations would then be finalized in 2025. Also worth a mention here, borrowers who are already enrolled in the SAVE program, until the courts make a final decision on the SAVE repayment plan, repayment on those loans will remain on hold for at least 6 months, pushing the beginning of repayment into early 2025. We'll have the links to the official press releases and some articles you can share with your clients in our episode notes. And we will continue to follow this story to see how it evolves. Number 2, back when Apple first announced AirPods features like noise cancellation, live listen, conversation boost, and adaptive audio, I remember thinking that they could be helpful for my own hearing issues. That was pre-surgery before I got most of those hearing issues sorted out. When Apple announced their plans to add more robust hearing accessibility features to the AirPod Pro 2s, it was exciting news. First, and I've mentioned this before, that should the AirPod become synonymous with hearing assistance, it could take a lot of the stigma away from wearing a more traditional hearing aid. And second, with the hearing test software that was just authorized by the FDA in September, the more users that could potentially test and detect treatable hearing issues earlier rather than later, well, that's also incredibly exciting. On Monday this week, the latest iOS update, 18.1, came out, and Apple's hearing test is now available for those who have a set of Apple AirPod Pro 2s and a compatible Apple device. The test must be taken in an extremely quiet environment and can give users a starting point for a conversation about hearing assistance. And then in addition to the test, hearing protection software also shipped in that same update, and it's turned on by default. Audio settings will automatically adjust based on the results of your hearing test, helping to amplify in certain areas while also protecting your ears from excessively loud and damaging noises. We'll be linking to a few articles on how to conduct that hearing test in the episode notes, as well as Apple's own notes on the release. Now, we all know that I'm a little bit of an Apple fangirl, but this is one of those areas where two of my passions meet that I just can't help but share. Very excited to see what innovations continue to come at the crossroads of hearing improvement and technology. Moving on to our top story, and we're not moving too far as this is also Apple related. At number 1, Apple Intelligence has arrived. I mentioned that iOS 18.1 dropped on Monday this week. That update contained the first of Apple's new AI features. The first thing I want to mention is that you don't automatically get Apple Intelligence upon downloading the new update onto an eligible device. You'll have to join the waitlist, but that is not as bad as it sounds. When you have iOS 18.1 installed, simply go to Settings, tap on Apple Intelligence, then Siri, and select Join the Apple Intelligence waitlist. I believe that Apple went with this wording rather than opt-in language to make it sound like you're joining a super exclusive club. I was on the waitlist for about a minute before Apple Intelligence was ready for activation. And then to activate, when you navigate back to the Settings tab, turn on Apple Intelligence replaces the option to join the waitlist. From there, you will be able to access the Apple Intelligence features that are currently live, which include writing tools, notification summaries, series glow up, photo cleanup, memory movies, as well as audio recording and call recording and summaries in Notes. I haven't tried any of the writing tools just yet, but I did turn on notification summaries. And that is in addition to recently turning off a lot of app notifications. There were a few apps that started getting a little carried away with their notifications. Snapchat is one that I will say is absolutely unhinged. I was getting notifications for accounts and videos that I do not follow, I don't care to follow, so I actually ended up turning off all of those notifications. And then I switched a few others to only show up in my notification summary. But for the ones that I do want to get, the summaries so far have been pretty helpful. If I need to see the full notification, I can just click into it for more details. Summaries are also available in email as long as you're using the Apple Mail app to port in your messages. Some of my messages included the summary icon on the message preview. Others, I had to tap into the email message before the option appeared. The functionality doesn't work that great on emails that are mainly images, like from retail stores announcing a sale. But for emails that have a lot of text, the summary function works pretty well on those. Fair warning, I would not rely on the summary function to include everything that you need to know from an email. AI might be able to pick out important information, but I can almost guarantee that for some emails, it will miss information that is important to both you and the sender. So exercise caution with those summaries. Photo cleanup was rather disappointing, if I'm being honest, at least if you're trying to make complex changes to an image. If you just want to remove something small and have it be replaced with a plain color, Apple Intelligence can handle that. But when throwing in more complex textures or patterns, it has trouble removing those without creating some odd visual distortions. Memory movies, on the other hand, are a lot of fun to make, and the feature works quite well. I've created a few of those and have enjoyed seeing the results play back. It really is as easy as entering a prompt, and Apple Intelligence chooses the photos. It arranges them, adds transitions as well as music, and in some cases gives it a creative title from the metadata in those photos. Other times, you'll just get a title that matches your prompt. I mentioned that Siri got a glow up, so now when you ask a question, the entire screen glimmers and glows while listening to your prompt. I was happily surprised to see that that effect was also added to Apple CarPlay. That was very satisfying to see that in action. In addition to voice commands, there's now an option to type your prompt to Siri. And that is functionality that you have to opt into as well. You'll find controls for that capability in the settings menu under Apple Intelligence and Siri. It is the third one down that says talk and type to Siri. After you have that feature enabled, when you want to ask Siri something, you simply tap the very bottom of your screen and a keyboard glowing with Siri's colors will appear, letting you type in your prompt rather than having to say it out loud. I have not found much use yet for typing to Siri, but I imagine over time that might change. Mostly, I use Siri in the car to navigate to a podcast or respond to text messages. As far as the new features go, that's pretty much it for round one of Apple Intelligence. If you're thinking, Sarah, that feels a little bit sparse, well, I would agree that there's not much this time around. But we also knew ahead of time that we weren't going to get everything in one update. As far as the features that I am most excited about, most of them are coming in the second wave of Apple Intelligence, which Apple recently confirmed will roll out with the iOS 18.2 update at some point in December. That second update will include the Image Playground, Genmoji, ChatGPT integration, the Image Wand, expanded writing tools, and visual intelligence. I will definitely report back as soon as we have a date for that release, and of course, we will review those features when they come out. As far as the features that are now available in iOS 18.1, we'll be linking to a few articles in the notes that detail how to join the waitlist and how to use the different new Apple Intelligence features. And as I continue to use these features a little bit more, I'm sure I will have more to say in future episodes. But for this week, that is all I've got. I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks so much for listening. Stay healthy and stay safe out there, and we will see you next week. The Agent Survival Guide podcast is a production of Ritter Insurance Marketing, an integrity company. This episode was written and produced by me, Sarah Ruppel, script editing and fact check by Tina Lamoureux, podcast design by Urban Rivera, artwork by Vivian Zhao. Follow along with us wherever you like to listen.